and Stacy Ross.
This hour of Jake and Stacy brought to you by Pendergast Law. I am very excited for our next guest and for this topic because our guest is very fun and a friend of the show, and also the topic is very important and can also be very fun. Michelle Ludtka Furbush is here. She is an Emmy award-winning sports anchor and an ambassador for Wise Seattle. So first of all, Michelle, welcome to Jake and Stacy. Secondly, we wanted to talk to you about what Wise Seattle is and also a very important award that's going to be opening up starting yesterday, at least.
Absolutely. First of all, thanks so much, you guys, for having me here.
We're happy to have you.
Big fan of the show. Excited to be in here to talk about all the fun things about this program. So I'm on the board of a group called WISE, which stands for Women in Sports and Events. It's a nationwide networking nonprofit organization that basically works to encourage, empower, and educate women professionals in the sports and events industries through professional development, mentorship, and of course, networking opportunities. It's really great. There's 24 chapters in total. Like I said, I'm part of the Seattle chapter, and we just launched this brand new program just a few days ago. With the thanks of our friends here at Seattle Sports, called Women of Inspiration. And it's a program that's very near and dear to my heart. I'm heading it up, where essentially we are seeking out a woman or multiple women in our community that do everything that what our chapter stands for. Like I said, encouraging, empowering, evolving, basically trying to find someone who goes the extra mile. This could be a coach, it could be a colleague, it could be you, it could be, a mentor, anyone who's involved in sports and events and is giving back. Like I said, we have the main three principles of encourage, empower, and evolving. That's basically, we want a diversity and an inclusive community, helping people with personal and professional growth in the sports and events industry, and then also really working to set up the industry so it continues to thrive for years to come.
So this sounds like an amazing thing, and obviously this is something that I is near and dear to my heart as I work with Stacy every single day, work with all the amazing women in the city, and then have a daughter and wanting her to have people to look up to and inspire to be and everything else. But why was it so important for you guys, as you guys were setting this chapter up, to have this award and to have this chapter here in Seattle?
Well, that's a great question. And first of all, I would like to plug, I will talk about how you can nominate people, but maybe, Jake, put mine. We should be nominating our girl Stacy over here.
I've already nominated myself.
Consider it.
I haven't nominated myself.
Consider
Shocking.
it done.
But yes, no, Seattle's a new chapter to the organization. It was actually launched in January of 2020, which we all know how challenging 2020 was, and then therefore on for, 2 years after 2020 now at this point. And so we're kind of almost relaunching this year, finally getting to do in-person events and different things like that. During the pandemic, we did mostly virtual events as everybody else did. But our Seattle chapter really was just trying to find a place for women of like-minded interests can come together, support each other, and can grow professionally. We put on different events every single month, second Tuesday of every month. They're free for the most part to members. And it ranges in topics of supporting each other with help with our resumes to, we just did an event a couple days ago out at Inner Bay where we were taking golf lessons together because we all know how much work gets done really on the golf course. And a lot of times women don't feel like they're comfortable to do that. I can't even tell you how many times I got invited to go play in charity golf tournaments when I was working as a sportscaster, and I literally went out and took lessons so I could learn, so I could do it.
Or you're not invited in the first place.
Or you're not invited in the first place. Or you show up and you're the one female
like,
quote-unquote celebrity, and you're just like, please don't look at my swing.
No, don't use quotes for celebrity.
Oh, stop. But yeah, it's an amazing thing that Seattle, these women who've come together in Seattle to found this chapter. I cannot take credit. I did not join WISE until March of 2021, but it was started by an amazing group of women who work at the Mariners, at the Seahawks, at Amazon, at BDA Sports, and then on the Sounders, and the Kraken. And we've got people involved from all different types of walks of life. And I was actually brought in a year ago with the intention of launching this particular program. Something that's always been near and dear to my heart is honoring and showcasing stories of athletes and people in sports that we don't necessarily hear on the major headlines. And unfortunately, a lot of times that is women in sports. But I think, as Stacy, you see this probably firsthand too, there's such a cool, I hate saying sisterhood, it sounds so cheesy, but there's a really cool, unique group of women in the Pacific Northwest who are interested in sports, who love sports, who want to support each other in sports and our careers in sports. And so the Women of Inspiration Award was kind of just all of this coming together of what our chapter really means and a way to acknowledge people doing all the things we love. And one of the coolest things is that we're taking nominations. We're obviously going to be recognizing women and their what they're doing to support the sports and events industry in Seattle. But also at the end of it, our winner will receive a cash donation on behalf of WISE and our other partners that will go directly to the nonprofit or the organization or the cause kind of their choice as to why they would have been nominated in the first place. So it's a really great way to give back.
So again, that website is womenofinspirationseattle.org. And let's backtrack just a second. If I'm someone, let's just say I'm a random, like I'm a parent of a couple kids, and I'm driving in my car, I'm listening to you, Michelle, talk to us right now about this award, and I'm thinking, well, who am I going to nominate? Like, why does this? It matters to me because maybe I have a daughter or I have kids and they're involved in sports and all of this matters to me. But how do I know how I can get involved? Because I think that for that person it might seem a little abstract, but it can be anyone being nominated.
It really can. It could be someone at your Boys and Girls Club that is volunteering their time to coach your kids, boys or girls, basketball, or how to learn pickleball, or something like that. It could be someone at your child's high school that is volunteering their time to coach a team. It could be someone that maybe you work with in your own organization that volunteers their time for. There's two in particular nonprofits that come to mind: Girls on the Run and Z Girls, which are both amazing sports organizations encouraging athletics in young girls in our community. Maybe it's someone who volunteers with that. It could be pretty much anyone. The only thing, obviously, we are women in sports and events, so it should be someone who probably falls under the women category. Jake, I'm sorry. You do great things, but I'm going to go with Stacy on this one.
But this woman doesn't have to be just helping young women. It could be just a woman who is being involved in the sports and events community at large, but in a way that is helping to grow and foster that community and just make it healthier and better for everyone.
Absolutely. And and it doesn't just have to be sports. I know we're on a sports program here. Obviously, I have a sports background. Sports is very passionate to me, but sports and events really go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Maybe it's someone in your organization who is amazing at putting on events, who is helping other people in your company, showcase the best way to bring people together and put on events, if they're for a charity, if they're for profit, those kind of things. So it really, there are no rules, which is the coolest part. When you go to womenofinspirationseattle.org, there is a nomination form. It's a couple simple questions asking you to detail how this individual, or again, could be yourself, is living by the principles of WISE Seattle. The panel will take these nominations until August. Let's see, I have the date written down here. August 12th is when our nominations will close. From there, we'll select 3 finalists that we will highlight their stories to try and share the good work that they are doing. And then you, the public, are open to vote on who out of the 3 finalists you would like to see win the actual award, get the money. That will all close in October. Winner will be announced November 1st.
That's obviously very exciting. And Michelle, there's no question the passion that you have for this. And, just want to ask you kind of a deeper question is, why are you so passionate about this? Why did you get involved personally in this? Because this seems to be something that is near and dear to your heart. And why does this matter to you?
Jake, I'm glad you asked me that question. I appreciate that. This is a story probably not a lot of people know. I mean, if you're close to me, you've heard me say this 1,000 times. I grew up here in the Pacific Northwest. Went to Issaquah High School. I played all the sports.
I'm so sorry. Go Spartans.
You know what? I believe when I was there, we beat Skyline my senior year. So
Michelle's gonna do the hair flip. Well, excuse me.
Excuse me. But yeah, I grew up here. This is my community. I grew up going to the Kingdome. I grew up watching the Mariners and the Seahawks and the Storm and the Sonics, and I loved sports so much. It was a passion that I shared very dearly with my father. I played all the games, and I was lucky enough to be raised in a household where there were no restrictions on what I could do. My family, my parents raised me to think I could compete, and every door was open to me just the same way it would be if I had been a boy. But as I got older, I realized that wasn't the case for all girls that I was growing up with. I saw the drop-off of my peers, of women participating in sports when I got into high school, and I saw that there were so few opportunities to see women on TV, in sports, to see those role models, and it made me sad. And I kind of, in my young mind was a feminist before I even knew I was a feminist. And I thought in high school, if I can do something to help women in sports, I would like to do that with my life. So when I was 16, decided I wanted to be a sportscaster. Sorry, you're in for a way longer story than you probably wanted.
This is exactly what I wanted.
I told you I could fill time, guys. So when I was 16, I decided I wanted to be a sportscaster because my thought was if I ever got a big enough platform, I could use that platform to highlight different stories and tell, shine the light on stories and athletes that, again, we don't always hear about in the mainstream. So that set me on a course. I was lucky enough to work in this market for about 10 years as a sportscaster and share a ton of those stories, which has been amazing. And throughout my journey as being a sportscaster, I've volunteered wherever I could for different nonprofit organizations. I mentioned Z Girls earlier. I worked with them for years in a mentorship capacity, mentoring 12, 13-year-old girls about the values you get out of sports, confidence, body awareness, teamwork. I mean, the list goes on. And then Wise reached out to me over a year ago because they wanted me to MC one of their events. And at the time, I hadn't heard of Wise because it was, again, a new organization here in Seattle. And I was honored. I led a panel with pretty much all the female VPs over at the Seahawks. It was virtual. It was amazing. I loved it. And I reached out to them the next day and I was like, how do I keep doing this? How can I continue to be involved? I think what you guys are doing is amazing. Stacy, you and I, we've had a relationship for years. I love the women. Not that I don't love the men in this market.
No, it's very supportive.
But it's a very special place to be a woman in sports in this market. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's not how it is everywhere in the country or the world. And so whatever I can do to give back to foster that growth of what those women were for me when I was coming up in my career, I want to do the same.
Well, and I think that foster, you're right. And also that this supportive community of women is also really important, but being able to get the community at large involved in recognizing how important that is also a big part of it. Like, you can be a dad listening whose daughter's involved in sports, and maybe you nominate her coach for this award because you love what she's doing in the community, and recognizing that overall you want an environment should your daughter decide to get into sports or events, right? We talked about broadcasting. It's a huge world. It's not just being a sports anchor, even though that's the background you're from. It's doing anything in sports business, right? That the community can be even better by the time she's ready to start her journey there, when we do things like this and when we recognize people that are doing great things to foster that environment. And you, Jake, with River, who's a teeny tiny baby, that she can ideally come up in a world where she can do anything she wants to do. And that all of that's very important, near and dear to your heart, obviously, as a dad. But yeah, I mean, Michelle, you said it perfectly. It is a wonderful community, and I do want to stress that to people. And this award is so wide open. And you can find more information at womenofinspirationseattle.org. Nominations are open now. They opened yesterday. Like Michelle said, they go through August 12th. So nominations are open pretty much all summer. Top 3 finalists are announced September 14th. Winners announced November 1st. The award honors a female in our community who exemplifies the pillars upon which Wise Seattle was founded. So making a positive impact in the business of sports and events, and also serving as a positive role model and mentor for other women. Like Michelle said, the winner, it's a pretty cool prize. Not only do you get the recognition and a year-long Wise membership, but also a cash donation to the organization of your choice. If you guys have any more information, can people just tweet at you and ask you questions?
Absolutely.
Where can they find you?
I'm still on Twitter
at
Michelle. Am I at Michelle Ludtka, or I'm either at Michelle Ludtka or at Michelle_Ludtka?
Yes. I'm looking at it right now. At Michelle Ludtka right now.
You can tweet at me, but also you can find Wise Seattle, wiseseattle.org, Wise Seattle on Facebook, Wise Seattle on Instagram. We've got just such an incredible network of women working and volunteering their time at this organization. I can't say enough good things. So find us, send us your questions, and even if you're unsure, if you're like, I think I have someone to nominate, but I'm not sure, nominate them anyway. You know what I mean? Because that's what's so cool about this, is it's so open-ended that we're really excited to see the variety of nominees that we get with this contest.
Oh, can I throw on one last thing too? It's just such a related point to that sometimes that person is making a bigger impact than even we realize. Like, you might be thinking, oh, like, this is probably for someone that has like an entire organization that they started as a grassroots campaign. It could literally be a little league coach.
Exactly.
It could be a volunteer at your kid's school. It could be a young woman who's doing something at her college campus, right? Like it could be a number of things, because all of those are more impactful than sometimes we even realize. So.
Exactly. I literally had this conversation with a girlfriend the other day when I was telling her about it. She was like, oh, I have a friend who's literally trying to start a dance program for inner city kids. Boom, there you go.
Done.
But it can go all the way too, for if we have any, people listening right now, that maybe there's a female on your board. You work at a sports business company and she just doesn't get the recognition she fully deserves, and you want to do something nice to shine light on what a big part she is of your company. I mean, the spectrum is huge.
Yeah, you're with Amazon, and there's a woman who's amazing with all the events and handling all this stuff. Events too. All right, she is Michelle Ludtka Furbush, Emmy Award-winning sports anchor and ambassador for Wise Seattle. Also a friend of ours. Michelle, thank you for taking the time. We appreciate it. If you guys have any more questions, like Michelle said, tweet at Michelle. You can text into the show 206-421-3776. If you need that website again, any more information.
I just wanted to say one last thing of just, first of all, thank you guys for having me on. But lastly, also,
thank you for coming.
Seattle Sports has stepped up huge, being our exclusive media partner of this award. And we are so excited for everything you guys are doing to try and shine the light on not only our program, but on the whole group as a whole. And we are so thankful for everything that Seattle Sports is doing with this partnership.
We've loved partnering with you guys. Obviously, knowing so much of you guys, too, since all the people behind the scenes, we all know each other, and it's such a great sports community. But also as like a sports station in general, you're like, well, you're part of the community. That's how you think of yourself, right? We go out and watch these games, but also it's Seattle. It's part of the broader community. And so giving back is important.
I also think being a part of the forefront of this attitude and of this thought process and of being inclusive with everybody in sports, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, enjoying the game with whoever wants to enjoy it and making everyone feel a part of the party. And not only can they be a part of the party, but that they can excel in this group. I mean, that is something that we as a community that we want to embrace and want to continue to promote here on Seattle Sports.
All right. You guys do a great job of it, so thank you for all you guys do.
Well, thank you for joining us today.